Welcome to my first ever book related YouTube video. As you can see by the title, this video is books I read in 2021 as a slow reader. Because I'm a slow reader. I read a total of 10 books last year, which obviously is less than one a month, but that's fine. I cannot believe some people are out here reading 10 books a month. I read 10 books in a year. So let's just get it started. So first I have 3 books from the Harry Potter series. Number 3, 4, and 5. Number 3 is Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. Number 4 is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. And number 5 is Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. I did not read them one after the other. I'm just talking about them all at the same time because they're from the same series. I love the Harry Potter movies, so I decided a couple years ago that I wanted to read them. So my mom bought me the series for Christmas, and I'm a slow reader, so it's been taking me time. Number 3, I don't really remember. I think I gave them all 5 stars just because I love the movies and the book just gives so much more detail. Number 4 had me crying a lot. It made me very emotional and very mad. And then number 5, I mean, it's thick. I think it's like over 800 pages. Let's check. Yeah, it's over 800 pages, so as a slow reader, this took me forever, and I was very mad. So anybody who read this book, you know that like the government within the wizarding world is very corrupt in this book, and you're like, what the hell, the whole time. Like, it literally made me so mad. And then like with the school, with everything going on, it frustrated me a lot not knowing what was gonna happen next, and it made me mad, so I took lots and lots of breaks. But the 3 of them, I gave them all 5 stars just because I love Harry Potter. The next book I'm going to be talking about isn't actually a book, it's a story, and it's the story of a national crime, and it is by Dr. P.H. Bryce, and it's not a book, it's just a short little 18-pager. And I learned about this in one of my conferences as an early childhood educator, my ECDA conferences. And it is the first doctor ever in Canada. The government sent him to the reserves where the Indigenous people live, and he was sent there to figure out why Indigenous kids were dying at such a rapid rate compared to people not living in reserves. And what he found out was horrible, and it's because they were getting maltreated by the government, and he talked to the government about it. So everything he wrote and discovered is all in here. And the government really erased him from our history books, and I didn't know anything about him until my conferences, so I was very intrigued. So my mom bought me this, and I think I also gave this 5 stars just because it is genuine research, and like, it's not a story, but it was just so interesting. The next book was my Halloween read, and it is Magic, Dark, and Strange by Kelly Powell. And I am a new reader. Like, I just started reading when I fell upon Book Talk, and this is the first book I bought that was not from Book Talk, and I regretted it. I have a Goodreads account, by the way, if you guys want to go check it out, here it is. Okay, I gave this 3 stars, which is pretty low. During the whole book, I enjoyed the characters and their dynamic, but then the ending just fell flat for me, and I just was expecting more out of it. And the next one is Circe, and if you're on Book Talk, you definitely know what this book is. And I loved it. I think I gave it a 4.5 stars in my like bullet journal, because I write like all my books in there, but on Goodreads I think I gave it 4 stars. It was so good. It was my first book I've ever read that included Greek mythology, which I'm very interested in. When I went to university, I was minoring in history, and I took a Greek mythology class, so I learned a lot about like Zeus and all of the like main ones, you know. So this book was super good. I loved her. The way it ended was really good, like everything. I definitely cried a lot, but it was a book that I would probably read again. All right, the next book is The End of Men, which again is a Book Talk book. This book, I read it like when the pandemic wasn't bad, you know, and it was very chill, especially where I lived. And this just gave me so much anxiety because it made me feel like we were in the midst of the pandemic again, like finding out everything and like doctors doing research still and all of that. But obviously it's not the same thing, like it was only killing men, but you like got to know these characters and then their sons are dying and their husbands are dying or they're dying, and it made me very, very emotional, but it was very good. I gave it 4 stars and it was just written so well. I think I gave it 4.5 in my bullet journal as well. It was written very well. I don't often like follow authors, I just kind of read whatever, but I will definitely look for more of her books because this one was written really, really well and I really enjoyed it. All right, the next one is The Midnight Library, another book talk book. I have seen mixed reviews on this. I've seen people being like, I hate it, and then people being like, I love it. I enjoyed it. It was a fast read. I was reading it with one of my friends so we could like talk about it while we were reading it. And as a slow reader, I even found it very fast. I kind of wish they would have went a little deeper in a couple of her lives she lived within the book, because I was like, I want to know more about this character that she's playing right now. But other than that, it was really, really good. I love the way that the author kind of sees the afterlife, or like, I wouldn't call it the afterlife, it's more like in the middle, like what's that called, purgatory? Maybe like when you're waiting to see where you're going, except I mean in the Catholic religion you're either going to heaven or hell, you're not going back to life. But it was really good and it was an easy read and I enjoyed it, and of course I cried a little bit, but like not as much as some of the other books. And then the last physical book I read was The Hate U Give. This is the first book and the only book I've ever annotated, and I still haven't found how I like to annotate books yet, because this one, like, it was kind of intense. I mean, I understand why it is an Indigo staff pick of the month, why it's won all these awards, all of that. I know why people talk about this and tell you to read this, because it was amazing. It was probably one of my favorite books I've ever read. As a white woman living in Prince Edward Island, I am very fortunate. I am never put into harm's way, and I kind of stand back and observe the rest of the world when they go through bad things, especially Black Lives Matter, because in my community we don't have very many Black people. We have mostly white people, and you know, we like to imagine that racism and all this stuff doesn't happen, but this book really gives you the insight of what the reality is for Black teenagers in certain areas. I seen some reviews on Goodreads that was like, I hated how it was written very immaturely, but that's the point. Like, this is a young girl who is probably immature, going through adult shit that she shouldn't be going through because of her skin color. And I liked like the background characters, like her brothers, her dad, her mom. It was a very emotional book, but like in a good way, where it was like very eye-opening to somebody like me who has never lived this or seen this or will ever experience anything to this gratitude. So I really enjoyed the book because it kind of gave me a little bit of insight on, as much as I can understand, about the Black community and the hatred that they get for no reason. And I think I gave that book 5 stars. Yes, I gave that book 5 stars. It deserved it. So the last book I read, I didn't really read it. It was an audiobook, and it is Neon Gods. And I was on TikTok and it was like good spicy books, and that was one of them. And I do not read romance, I do not read spicy books, but I was like, you know what, I'll try it, especially in because somebody had commented in the TikTok, I'm so glad Spotify has this. So I was like, okay, I'll listen to it. I think I'm now a fan of romance. I gave it 4 stars on Goodreads, but 4.5 stars in my book. It was really good. It was again with Greek gods, but how it worked was like Zeus was like Zeus, but like his father was it before him, and his father was it before him. So like they weren't actually Greek gods. They were normal men, and like if you would die, then your son would take over the role of Zeus. It is a very adult book. Do not listen, do not read unless you're an adult, because Gets a little graphic sometimes. I think if I would have read it, because it's a romance book, I probably wouldn't have paid as much of attention, but because I was listening, it was a lot easier. I could listen and like get stuff ready for school, or like listen and like clean my bedroom, so I like that a lot. So I'm definitely going to continue with audiobooks, and I think I might just do them like with romance, which I find a little boring to read. So that is my 2021 books I read. I know it's not a lot. My goal this year is 12 again, just like last year. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys have any book reviews, please leave them down below, because I am already starting my list of books to read in 2022. And I'm excited to read more books. So thank you guys for watching my channel, and I will see you next time. Bye.